Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever felt just surrounded, misunderstood, or maybe even afraid that your strength was just about to give out? Well, today we're going to jump right into a prayer that speaks to those exact moments. We're going to explore Psalm 71, which is this incredible cry for help that actually transforms into a powerful declaration of faith. So let's get into it.
Right at the very heart of this psalm, there's this really raw, deeply human fear. The writer, who's likely an older man, he's looking at his own fading physical strength and he starts to worry, is God going to abandon me now that I'm not who I used to be? It's that fear of being seen as useless, of being left behind. And that's something we can all relate to, no matter how old we are.
So it's not just that the psalmist is dealing with his own fears inside. No, he is also facing this very real, very external threat from what he calls wicked and cruel men. And what makes it so much worse is how they're spinning the situation. They look at his age, they look at his troubles, and they don't see it as a trial. They see it as proof that God has completely given up on him.
And here is where it gets so powerful, this incredible contrast. On one side, you've got the enemy's voice, this cruel lie they're whispering, God has forgotten you, he's fair game. But then look at the other side, at the psalmist's response. He doesn't get into an argument about his own goodness or his track record. No, he appeals to something much, much higher.
And this is the key to the whole thing. The psalmist prays, "Deliver me in thy righteousness." He's not saying, "God, save me because I've been a good person," or "because I deserve it." He's saying, "Save me because you are a good and just God who always keeps his promises." He bases his entire appeal on the unshakable character of God himself, not on his own shaky performance. That's a game changer.
So you might be asking, where does he get this incredible confidence to pray like that? Well, it's not just wishful thinking. His hope is built on a rock-solid foundation, a whole lifetime of evidence, of seeing God's faithfulness again and again. Let's take a look at how he built that case.
And this just lays out his argument so perfectly, doesn't it? He looks back and he sees God's hand on his life at every single stage. He says God was holding him up from the womb. He was his trust from his youth. And right up to this very moment, hitherto, he has been declaring God's works. So his logic is flawless. The God who carried me this far isn't about to drop me now just because I'm old and gray-headed.
And this whole idea of God's intimate, personal care for us before we were even born, that's not a one-off thing in the Bible. It's all over the place. God says to Jeremiah, "Before I even formed you in the belly, I knew you." That should give us this incredible security. Our relationship with God isn't some fragile thing we have to barely maintain. It's anchored in his deep, personal, and lifelong care for us.
The psalmist gets really honest here. He admits that his life of suffering has made him a spectacle, a wonder to a lot of people. You can just imagine them staring, whispering, wondering what on earth he did to deserve all this trouble. But then he pivots from what everyone else thinks to his private reality. "But thou art my strong refuge." What matters isn't what people see on the outside. It's the truth that God is his safe place.
Okay, and this right here, this is the pivot. This is the moment the whole psalm turns. Faced with fear, enemies breathing down his neck, and his own physical weakness, the psalmist makes a conscious, deliberate choice. He pivots from his problems to his God, and that decision changes absolutely everything.
I mean, just feel the power in this verse. It starts with that word "but." That's a decision. "But I will hope." And he doesn't even stop there. He says he will praise God more and more. The strategy is just incredible. It's like he's saying, oh, my troubles are increasing. The voices of my enemies are getting louder. Fine. I'm just going to turn up the volume of my praise even louder to drown them out. Praise becomes his weapon.
And what happens right after he makes that choice? It immediately flows into a commitment to testify about it. He decides, my mouth is going to be filled with talk about God's goodness and salvation all day long. And why? Because God's good deeds are literally countless. He says, I know not the numbers thereof. There's always something to be thankful for. And this really shows you what's truly in his heart. His prayer isn't just about getting a comfortable retirement. He asks God, don't forsake me until I have showed thy strength unto this generation. He's got this powerful sense of legacy. His mission in his old age is to pass on the testimony of God's faithfulness to all the people coming up behind him. So how do we take all of this and apply it to our lives? Because this isn't just some beautiful ancient poem, right? It's literally a strategic playbook for our own faith. So let's break down 4 practical actions we can take away from the psalmist's amazing example.
Okay, first up, pray based on God's perfect character, not your own performance. Number 2, take some time to actually remember and maybe even write down God's faithfulness throughout your whole life. Third, and this is a big one, make the conscious choice to praise, especially when you really don't feel like it. And finally, number 4, see your life experiences, the good and the bad, as a testimony to be shared, a way to show God's power to others.
And by the end of this journey, the psalmist gets to this place of just incredible confidence. He's totally honest. He admits God has shown him great and sore troubles. But in the very same breath, he declares that the very same God will quicken or make him alive again and bring him up even from the depths of the earth. I mean, that is a bold statement of faith in God's resurrection power. And so the whole thing ends with this absolute symphony of joyful praise. He even talks about the defeat of his enemies in the past tense, for they are confounded, because he's seeing the victory by faith. His whole being, his lips, his soul, his tongue, is just completely consumed with celebrating the God who has redeemed him.
So this really brings it all back home to us, doesn't it? We all face trials, big and small. Looking at the psalmist's incredible journey from fear to faith, the question for you today is this. In your specific situation, right now, how can you make the deliberate choice to let praise be your first response?
Well, we really hope that walking through Psalm 71 together has been an encouragement to you and maybe even equipped you for whatever it is you're facing. Thank you so much for joining us for this devotional from the You Need Faith in Jesus team.